several members of the squad stood up against the $1 billion allotment to Israel that was going to fund their Iron Dome program, which basically is a, missile system that shoots other missiles out of the sky. But as we've dealt with Russia, when we have wanted to create missile shields, is that each side goes, it's just a deterrent. Yeah, but it stops the other from being able to hit you. So in fact, it increases the power of your arsenal because you can hit them. So really, it's just furthering this endless war and making one side more powerful. So whenever they try and tell you, oh, it's for peace, it's progressive to have our iron shield. No, it's bullshit. It just creates more death and war. There's no such thing as good guy missiles. Like these are positive missiles. These are the ones that really help do nice things. They like clean around the house and take care of your kid. We have a rough day and you need someone to look after your 3-year-old. Yeah, it's you get the Iron Shield, the Iron Dome to do it. So several members of the squad, about 9 members of the squad, or no, more than that, 11 or 12 members, said they weren't going to vote for a large bill that the $1 billion to Israel, which, by the way, is just a portion of the billions we give to Israel every year. We give them billions of dollars to support Israel with their apartheid state. So just know that going in. So the $1 billion for the Iron Dome, they said, we're not voting for this larger bill with that in there. And so they got it stripped out. And there were some, Palestinian groups. There were some left-wing groups rightfully saying, this is a win. It might be short-lived, but it's a win that people even stood up against this Iron Dome garbage, this another $1 billion to Israel. So then 2 things happen that are kind of important. One is the Democratic leadership, Pelosi and them. This shows how much they care about the victims of Israel's assault on Palestine. They took the Iron Dome funding out of the larger bill, got the larger bill passed, then put the Iron Dome funding back as its own bill, and it passed 420 to 9. 420 members of the House of Reps voted for the Iron Dome $1 billion to Israel, which is just a portion of the billions we give to Israel. I mean, how fucked is that? So, and then the 9 members were, I think it was 1 Republican, and all the rest are people that most people consider members of the squad. But then AOC, who had initially been part of the group that said, we won't vote for this because of the Iron Dome funding, when push came to shove and they actually had the vote on just the Iron Dome bill, she voted present rather than voting yes or no. So kind of an impressive act of cowardice at the last minute, so that her name couldn't be attached to a yes or no vote on Israel. So yeah, that's just something to know. And I think so that's mostly the surface level. If you get below the surface level to the second layer of reality, the 420 to 9 vote shows that the 2 parties are basically the same, right? With the exception of 9 people. 420 voted together to give another $1 billion to Israel to essentially bomb Palestine for war, for death, for destruction. And they all agreed on that. And this is one of the few things that the Democrats and Republicans agree about. This is one of the, or the few things they act like they agree about. As I've said many times, they actually agree on like 80% of the structural issues of this country. So if you were to put capitalism to a vote in the House, it'd be 429-0, right? Or probably, if you were to put consumerism to a vote, 400 or whatever, even more than that, because the ones that aren't there would probably show up just to make sure they cast their vote for capitalism. In the Senate, it'd be 100-0 for capitalism. So most of these structural issues don't come to a vote in our Congress. But in a moment like this, you see where they stand on war and death and killing and destruction of Palestinians' lives. They all agree. They all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and they love it. They love it. Another $1 billion going to. Think of how hard it's been to get a few $1 million to fix the lead pipes in Flint, or a few $1 million for the 9/11 first responders bill that was to go to their health care. It's been like pulling teeth to get that shit. But another $1 billion to Israel for war, easy peasy, 420-9. 420-9. And so the deeper layer of this is this actually shows how united the two parties are on war, and it shows how much they're owned by Israel. Almost the entirety of Congress is still owned by Israel. Now, there's a select few people that, and when they do something positive, I will say they do something positive. So standing up against this was positive. It is. It may be somewhat performative, but it's positive. And occasionally you'll have them speak out against Israel on issues of Palestine. I don't think you really hear much of that from AOC. But there's more to the squad than just her. Anyway, it shows how united the two parties are, really, and how owned they are by Israel. Because they all fear that, first of all, they would stop getting money from things like AIPAC. They fear that they'd stop getting money from all of their donors that do support Israel. So all the big corporate donors that are like, yeah, Israel killing Palestinians, awesome. They're afraid those people would subtract their campaign funding. They're also afraid that they can't run for higher office. They're in the House of Representatives right now. Maybe they want to run for Senate. They need Israel to give the okay for them to do that. And so they don't want to piss off Israel or run for president. They know they need the okay from Israel. So that's kind of a deeper layer of this. And finally, I did say I kind of already said this, but they unite over war. But these same people don't unite over life or sustainability or helping people, like true humanitarianism. I don't mean fake USAID, let's create a coup in Venezuela humanitarianism. I mean real humanitarian, actually caring about humans. They don't unite over that. They unite over war. They unite over war, exploitation, profit. And to get a layer deeper than that, again, this is how capitalism works, right? As the elections become more and more bought out, more and more money influences the elections, then capital, the rich, the oligarchy have more and more sway over those elections, and therefore can push more and more bills that work for them. And so you see this stuff speed up as it goes along. And war is profitable. Having Israel destroy their neighbors is profitable. It's good for the empire because power is also money. So this is how capitalism works. This is not a fluke, not a mistake, not oh, that's odd. They all unite to send $1 billion for missiles in Israel. It's not odd. It's how the system works. And honestly, that's one of the notes that I feel like if there's one thing I could fucking slam through people's skulls, it's like, this is how it works. This is, for fuck's sake. There's so many people, and even when I'm agreeing with them, even when I'm like, yes, you're right, they still go, if we could just, get a couple of Congress people in there that would be angry about this. And it's like, no, it's bigger than that. This is how the system works. Even if you got a few more Congress people in there, that they gave a shit like that, it would eventually be co-opted. It would eventually be taken over. This is how the system works. It goes there and it speeds up as it gets to the end because the powerful have more and more power. The rich have more and more wealth. And so they can do more and more. Not to mention, connected to this whole system, to again go down to layer number 4 or whatever, these are sociopaths. These are people that are willing to sacrifice anything to achieve power and money. So they got there by being sociopaths. They were electable for corporate America because they had proven that they were sociopaths, that they fit in with corporate America. And that's, again, how capitalism works. Capitalism, it brings the sociopaths to the top because it's a profit-based system, profit over all else, meaning if you are willing to stab somebody to get rich, then you fit into this system. And so the sociopaths rise to the top, and then they get elected to office because they are the ones that corporate America approves of. So again, that's how the system works. Not a fucking accident. People, it's amazing how much people are just, it's because we haven't pushed them enough on Burgundy Blue. It's like, look, I'm all for pushing on issues, but you got to also, at the end of the day, understand that this is how the system works. And you can win gains. Let's say they even stopped Iron Dome, all right? Let's say in this case, the fucking shitbags that want to send $1 billion for missiles to Africa, to Israel, let's say they lost. And it was an oh my God moment. They did it. The true progressives actually stood up. They fought back and they fucking won and they stopped that $1 billion. That's incredible. Great. I would celebrate that. I would say, yay for them. Yay for stopping that $1 billion. But I would not forget about the fact that that's not going to last long, because that doesn't fit with how this system works. It would be a temporary win. It would be the exception that proves the rule. It would be a temporary win in a system that is spiraling towards an end game. And, I don't enjoy saying that. It's the fucking truth. That's how it works. I mean, you can't. I think some people think like, well, it feels better to believe kind of the lie. And it's like, I don't feel better when I'm trying to convince myself of a lie. I don't feel better when I'm imagining a fairy tale is true. I want the truth, and that is the truth. So anyway, that's your moment of clarity. Hope you got something out of it. And I hope you'll share these. I hope you'll let people know. And we have a new Redacted Tonight airing tonight, as well as a new Government Secrets. We live stream it at 6 p.m. Eastern on Graham Elwood's channel. So that's on youtube.com/Graham Elwood, as well as rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. And then a couple of days later, it comes out on the podcast platform. And it comes out on my channels as well a couple of days later. So don't worry if you miss it tonight. But if you want to join us live, that's 6 p.m. Eastern tonight at youtube.com/Graham Elwood, rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. But if you're going to join Rockfin, don't join Graham's page. Only join through my page. Because fuck that guy. No, I'm kidding. Love Graham. Graham's wonderful. But if you're going to join Rockfin, join rockfin.com/LeeCamp. All right, guys. That's what I got. Check out Redacted tonight. Hate it when I say that. Hate it when I double it tonight. And you can also get all of this at radindymedia.com. Oh, yeah, maybe I'll give you my standard other headlines at radindymedia.com today. I'll do that real quick. If it loads. All right. From Common Dreams, echoes of the past are present in Texas's latest racist attack on education. From Unicorn Riot celebrating Black joy virtually as Black Storytellers Festival hits 31 years. From Speaking Security, that's a great page, by the way. House Democrats who voted against the Pentagon budget cuts voted against the cuts, meaning they voted for more money to the Pentagon. Those House Democrats took 3.7 times more military industry cash than their peers. From Common Dreams, the EU's undying fealty to the imperial U.S. leads to the latest humiliation. And then next on Rad Indie Media is my redacted VIP interview with the creator of Fred Hampton Leftists, Nick Cruz, talking about a general strike. From Mint Press, will there be another coup in Brazil? And I'll give you one more. Let's see. From Counterpunch, the record-breaking failures of nuclear power. Anyway, all of that, as well as much more, is over at radindiemedia.com. Okay, keep fighting.